Have you ever felt?
Are you listening? Damn.
So at the beginning, let's look at the price briefly, what is happening. Basically, after the collecting stops around this area, we return back to this channel, and in fact we might go up from that, and all the signs were that we probably will. We just tested this support before, but eventually the market decided to play other way around, and you actually can see that this candle, which we observed just recently, had a quite of the volume. It means that after we left this area, there were like few some reasonable amount of longs with the stops below this level, and after we tested that, we actually probably had even more stops and more longs from this level. So we collected that easily. And also there was like this triangle formation from this resistance line and this support line. It also made additional liquidity collected below this line, which was successfully collected after the breaking through at pinning through it. And now we have even bigger triangle right like this. I would say that it's too big to be broken immediately right now, although the momentum now is actually quite strong. You see it goes down and down again, so we can actually make one more leg and we'll break that, and then we'll maybe bounce off the 3600 or something, and eventually we can if we'll hover around this, we can go through this space, through this area with a lot of the stops, and the volume will be even more. And the thing that probably as soon as the number of stops is huge, they could initiate the fall even lower, somewhere like 3200, something like that, quite easily. So in any way, as I mentioned many times, it's not worth trading in the like day inside a day, but probably it like TA doesn't really work properly, and it's even hard to get TA working in a regular condition. So you may have like 60% probability of the positive forecast, positive prediction based on TA, but now it's like 50-50 basically, at least within the day or within a few days. What I would say that, yeah, we have those levels of support and resistance within this huge range of like 3000 to 6000, and we can buy low, sell high, and always fix your profit, and you stop orders if you don't want to become more or less long-term investor. If you buy for example around here and the price will go even lower, and you do want to buy average at this level, but you want to just put a stop here and wait for a better price. So it's still quite risky, I would say, just buying a little here and more here, and sell a little here and sell a lot of the bought around this. So that's my standpoint. It's much easier and safer than just try to be successful in the day trading. Okay, so anyway, what I would expect right now is that we'll test that. If we'll go below this triangle support, then we'll probably go to 3600 and possibly even lower. Of course, not financial advice, my personal opinion, don't forget about that. And again, the momentum is quite strong at the moment. What I was going to mention, which is important, I think, in terms of the future possible price return to like 6,000 or new bull rally, is that we are expecting some good positive news in terms of regulation and in terms of the institutional investments entering the market, like Fidelity and Bakkt, and of course ETF approval. So why we would think that those positive news would make any impact on the price, while like recently we didn't see anything like that on any positive news, which is used to happen on bear market. So when you have like negative news, you see a lot of the price action the same way, it goes down, but if it is positive news, it's unlikely to change the price in a positive direction. And it's normal on bear market. So why would we would expect the opposite thing happen when we'll see the price, the news on let's say ETF, or news on Bakkt, when it will be open finally. The thing is, there is a fundamental difference between those two things. When there is nothing new in the market in terms of the new capital entering it, then basically the news are already included in the price when they are on the level of rumors. That's why you say buy rumors, sell the news. And the huge players, smart money, they are entering the market before the news actually released. And then, like for example with Stellar listing on Coinbase, when we had the rumor that Stellar will be listed, then the smart money start to accumulate it, at least start to accumulate the position. And when the news was obvious, they sold on the liquidity, or when the price went down, went up on this positive news. But after the listing, it eventually actually went down. And the thing is, with such things as, for example, Bakkt or ETF, it's fundamentally different. First, it brings the opportunity for huge investors, huge players to enter the market. In order them to be, in order to those institutions which are providing the services, like custodial service, for example, or other shovels to dig in this market, in this space, they need to make the sentiment different, and they need to move the price up. So exactly on this reason, because of this reason, we would have possibly would have different behavior, different reaction of the price on those news. And also the scale of them is much bigger than the usual ones we used to have. So the major conclusion here is that still we are expecting the rise on first quarter of the 2019, and in principle, you know that it's really hard to move the momentum from such a long bearish movement and sentiment, and it would take time. So don't expect it to go to 10k or 20k in a day. Probably you'd have to see some significant long period of the stable move to like 5,000-6,000, whatever we'll start from. But maybe before that we will see the some final drop when we finally will have the bigger volume, when the huge institutions could buy more. And there is an interesting possibility, interesting scenario of things could happen in terms of the ETF and other events. So just imagine that ETF on the end of December will be rejected, not postponed, not approved, but rejected. It will make induce the further drop from even those levels which will have there, whatever it will be, 3,000, 4,000, or doesn't matter. So it will induce the huge drop, maybe $1,000 or even $2,000 drop, and finally a lot of people will sell, especially that it will be in the end of December, so a lot of the people will not trade because of the holiday season. So they will have to sell eventually at even lower prices then they would sell at the beginning of this drop, and eventually, so a lot of the volume will appear at the very bottom. So and as soon as it will be rejected, and the price will go that low and will stay there for a while, and this would be the real capitulation. However, after that, on January and like first quarter of 2019, there will be Bakkt and Fidelity, and as soon as they will be launched, then the price should be going higher in order to let them to provide the higher price for the services for huge institutional investors who will enter the market. So that will be one of the interesting scenarios of price evolution. And actually the same may happen if the ETF will be postponed and rejected in February, but it would not give that big impact. So this is interesting and to look at, and I wouldn't be surprised that will happen. And the last but not least, if you look at the market capitalization, now it's like $126 billion, and it's going lower and lower and lower. But you see that, for example, for Tether, we have $2 billion Tether capitalization, and in principle, this is the money which is waiting to enter to the market. Maybe not half of it, but just a fair portion of this money can go into Bitcoin and altcoins, which would significantly, dramatically increase the price as soon as the confidence will be returned, as soon as most of the players in the market would expect that we are in the bull territory, then this would happen. And this is like, we may expect that, okay, we'll not see the mass adoption, but we need to see some initial movement towards this in terms of the price action, and this is where we can get new buyers, right? So this is those are people who, sorry, it's a Litecoin. Those are people who left and just waiting aside of the trading, expecting some better prices, or like the position when they will be sure, more or less sure, that this will not go even lower, but finally we reversed the trend. So again, Tether and other stable coins is the source of the new funds. And finally, I was looking at the altcoins recently and I was thinking, okay, all of them were dropped that much that we basically don't know whether it's reasonable to think of trading them, because they can go even like 10 times from low from that, again, if Bitcoin will have like $1,000, $2,000. So very, very risky trading. However, as we all expect, probably at the beginning we will not see like 1000x for some of the altcoins, like smaller altcoins, maybe even not in the first 100, but some smaller capitalizations, and we will not be able to guess them. What you will be able to guess is that first movers probably would be the altcoins from the first 10, 20 from the market capitalization, and it's interesting to see which of those are potentially the best performance among the others. And if you look at the history of the moving of those altcoins within the positions of the total market capitalizations and coin market cap, you would see that, for example, that okay, XRP is now in the second position. It was in the third for a while. Stellar is now in the fourth. It was like 6, 8, I think even lower than that. Yeah, of course it was, but like recently it moved to the fourth quite of a gain. Also EOS, it was in fifth, but before that it actually was much lower as well, and so on and so forth. And even Tron, I think it was like 14th, 13th, now it's 11th, and again, and many examples like that. Not saying about the Binance coin, which is completely continuously climbing up, but there is one altcoin which I look at carefully, look at all that during all that bear market, is Cardano. If you remember, it was number 6 and was it number 5? I'm not sure. I think it was number 5 for a short period of time, and now it's number 10. And the thing is that fundamentally it's really strong, and like very high skilled and experienced team. They're doing a lot, and now they're changing some management and so on. But the thing is, based on the fact that it's basically the same level of the fundamental, or maybe arguably better fundamentals than the other top 10 altcoins, but it dropped more than the others. Technically, I think it has a better risk reward ratio, and you can expect it to return to like position number 6, 7, 5, something like that. So it means that it will perform better than the others, which actually looked stronger than Cardano during this period of time. So I would look at that and continue to consider it as the buying opportunity better than the others, and in the bigger extents than the others. So, not financial advice as usual, and I hope that it was useful for you. If it was, please leave a like and subscribe to the channel. Leave your comment. What do you expect to happen with altcoins, with price of Bitcoin? And yeah, safe trading, guys. See you tomorrow in the daily update as usual. Goodbye.